went live. Welcome back to Killing It on Kickstarter. Hopefully this is happening. We are trying a few more things today than we did last time ourselves. So I'm running it here from my other computer here. So I'll be looking over here quite a bit. But this is our second episode, and we're going to be taking a look at 3 new titles today. And as you can see, one of them is Hell, which we mentioned last week. Another one is Clinic. And the reason we have this here, once we get to it, you'll understand why. I'll leave that as a surprise. And then we're going to be finishing things off with Adventures in Neverland. One of the questions we got last time, or a number of comments were asking, how do you guys pick these titles? Of course, that was our first episode. And this only being our second episode, we don't have any sort of super scientific way of doing that. But Jeremy and I just got on the phone last night or yesterday and said, okay, what do you want to cover tomorrow? And we just kind of looked to see what was being highlighted for a variety of reasons. What's obviously killing it on Kickstarter, doing big numbers. But some of these are going to be, you know, bigger than others, and some of them are going to be smaller. And for instance, Clinic is one that's probably on the smaller side of these types of numbers, but we wanted to highlight it for a particular reason. Jeremy?
Yeah, some of them may also just have personal interest to us as well. We may like very specific style games, and we may choose to want to cover those. So, yeah, we picked 3 that have some kind of personal interest to us as well, because we really don't want to talk about things that we don't like.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So with that said, we'll dive right in. And please, in the comments, if anything in the audio realm is a little off, try to let us know in the comments, and we'll try our best to adjust it. So with that said, we will move on to the first title, which is Hell. As you can see, this is at 1.3 million. You know, obviously this is Mythic, so they generally do some pretty big numbers. And I hadn't really looked at this title. I mean, this has been doing well for a few weeks now. We mentioned it last week, but I hadn't really looked at it until just the last couple of days with any degree of, you know, detail. Jeremy, have you looked at this much?
Yeah, so Gamers Rush, you said my mic is a little bit too high. I'm going to pull this away from my mouth.
Oh, I'll adjust that
pretty
too.
far, and maybe he can adjust it as well. All right, so Hell. So we got asked, that's probably the number one question last week is, well, are you guys going to cover Hell? So we're going to cover Hell. If you're already familiar with Mythic, they have an enormous amount of content that they pour into their games. Their last big one that we received was Joan of Arc, and the amount of content in that game, for me personally, is unplayable. Like, there's just so much content in there. Plus, it's not my style of game. It's really a heavy miniatures game. This looks more like a narrative adventure, and I'll 100% admit this. I fought David for quite some time wanting to do this show because I knew that doing this show would make me want to back things, and this is no exception. Like, I went ahead and backed it, and I wish you could see my screen, but I'm a backer now. For one main reason.
Are you?
I am. Well, you can't see it on yours, but on mine,
I haven't
I'm a backer.
backed.
And you could look on my MVM page, and I'm a backer now. But anyway, I've been playing a unhealthy amount of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like a very unhealthy amount, like over 100 hours in the past couple weeks. And I'm nearing the end finally, and with the soon-to-be-released Valhalla, which I'm all about, anything Viking-related is pulling me in, and this is 100% Viking-related. It's a narrative, cooperative adventure that contains a number of different scenarios that you're going to be going through and playing as a group. There's a lot of things, and as we scroll down through this, I'll show you all the things that I enjoy and the things that worry me. Mostly the dice rolling. Like, I'm not a big dice roller. I don't like random chance in my games, but the first thing you look at is David scrolling through this, the art. Like that art is beyond amazing. And if you go all the way down, you don't have to go down, David, but if you go down and find the rule book, open the rule book. It's a 48-page rule book. 10 of the pages is just story driven. But there's so much really, really good art in this game. Like, look at that girl holding her little bear cub. Like, that's
Yeah,
super cool.
the art is pretty sweet. In fact, speaking of sort of the visuals, let's take a quick peek. I don't know if we'll watch the whole thing, but let's take a quick peek at the trailer.
I'm gonna preface this. This isn't super impressive.
No,
But go for it.
I kind of it's almost, well, yeah. I won't go into it, but yeah, I kind of feel the same way. So here we go. So far so good, right?
Yeah.
Now a little less so. Although
It
we have
looks-
to keep in mind this is a board game, right? So
Sure.
this cinematic looks like kind of PS2, PS3 generation cinematic.
Although the hair there flying looks PS4-ish, which is kind of weird.
So begins
This part I like.
the opal eye of destiny. Gift out
Yeah,
watch
but the
over fate of
voiceover's
the
not.
brave. Grant them
And I'm
mercy
super
against
nitpicking
the
this, but
At the whim of
I'm
the wisdom,
mystery science
grace of foe, we
this thing to
fell
death.
into the tumultuous tresses of Aegir's daughters.
I mean, they're definitely trying to establish the feel
Treacherous
of
mermaids
this,
who whisper their
Oh.
victories and lead us straight into the
because this
dark.
video doesn't really talk too much about the game.
Father of the waters wields in his wrath.
that little bear cub is just cool. I mean, he's seriously awesome.
Continues, snaking through rocks whose summits lay hidden in
This part here reminds me almost like the opening credits sequence of like an animated movie, like a Disney type movie. Not this part, but the other stuff.
Mm-hmm. The bad thing about this trailer, and this is about the end of it here. I mean, there's not much more to it, but the bad thing about this trailer is they don't talk at all about the game. Like, you have zero idea, other than like maybe
Right.
a small narrative piece of what the game is encompassing as a whole.
The answer lies there ahead of us.
So I think that's about it.
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about here, because people really wanted to know value, like what are you getting here? And if you scroll down through this page, David, you're going to have a part about, I don't know, maybe a third of the way down that says, well, what's in the box? And
Like this?
well, that counts too. But if you go further down, there's actually like, what do you get? And it talks about each of the different things that are in the box. And it's pretty impressive. Like, you have 60 double-sided tiles. You can keep going down, David.
Yeah.
13 scenario boxes, a rule book, of course, a giant 200-page saga box. You're right there.
Yeah.
16 different heroes, a bunch of dice, and a plethora of cards, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of really, really detailed, beautifully drawn, some incredible graphic design going on, some incredible art going on. Just, it's a
There's a
beautiful
lot.
looking game.
There's a lot on this list. You just keep scrolling down here. It's amazing how much there's, and it is beautiful. Like all of these components. In fact, I know you just said the dice scare you, but in terms of the look, those dice are really cool. I love the iconography on those.
And one of the neat things they've done here was, if you go to the top of the page, and don't go to the top of the page, but at the top of the page, it talks about how they're handling their stretch goals. There is no new gameplay content with the stretch goals. It's just upgrades to everything that you see. So as you go down into the stretch goal area, all the cardboard pieces have been turned into miniatures or better dice or better components. And all these things are being added into the Kickstarter. And you just passed one of the things I want to talk about as well, is this mystery boxes, because I love that.
Oh,
Yeah, those type of things, the mystery boxes that he's showing you on screen right now, I love this. Like, this is the type of thing that really draws me into a campaign. I don't really know much about the game other than it's, like I said, it's scenario driven, it's cooperative driven. You're going to be going through different paragraphs, making decisions about your choices, rolling dice to get the outcomes of those. I've not read the rules, but this is intriguing to me. And I invite you guys to go to the rule book, because as you get to the bottom of the page, they do have the rule book, and look through it. There's some beautiful, beautiful pieces of artwork in this game. Like, it's a really, really nice presentation.
I'm looking for the stretch goals. Do you know where those are on the page, Jeremy? They must be north of those mystery boxes.
They are. Yeah. They do have a bunch of add-ons as well. But they're not necessary add-ons that you need to play the game. They're things like art books and some texture dice and some leather trays. Right below that says, what kind of stretch goals can we expect? And that's talking about the gameplay. Like, you're not going to get any new gameplay portions in here. It's all just upgrades to the components. Let me look for the stretch goals, Devin. I'm not quite sure. It's got to be lower down
Oh, see
on the
add-ons
page.
below.
And it's even further down below that, I believe. It's
Yeah, I went pretty low. I didn't see them. I mean, this page is jam-packed.
yeah, it's enormous. It may be even higher. It's not a super long list, but it is
I mean, well, here's some...
in here.
Oh, man. I didn't actually realize. Are these pictures of painted miniatures? Because I actually thought these things were pieces of art.
No, those are painted minis.
Oh, man.
But let's talk about the price here. It's
Well, yeah, what is the
$129.
price?
It's $129, and that gets you everything, minus the add-ons. So this isn't as expansive, I think, as maybe Joan of Arc, which is, a lot of more content that you need. But they wanted to make sure that everything that you can do in the game is right here. Like, everything is right there in that 129 pledge. And the other thing you have to pay attention to, if you're at all excited about this game, or if it even intrigues you just a little bit, this thing is never going to be on retail. This is a Kickstarter only project. And I like this type of stuff. I mean, obviously retailers aren't going to like that, but I think it's cool. I mean, if you want to buy the game, buy it now, and you have the opportunity to do so. If not, then you're going to have to spend probably 2 to 3 times that amount on the, aftermarket.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is one of those games, we've talked about this before on Chit Chat. There's certain games that just are problematic at retail. And I think even a lot of retailers would agree with this. You get something that's so massive, unless they are 100% confident that it will blow off shelves. For instance, you've got like Death May Die, which has CMON behind it. So there's a lot of retail opportunity there. Obviously, Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. But even as big as Mythic is and as successful as they are, I just don't know if retailers are going to say, yeah, give me tons of massive boxes that take up a ton of space to try to sell at $130. And in fact, at that point, it'd probably be $150, right? Or a little bit more.
Sure, but this looks like it's all contained in that absolutely cool-looking ass hell, white box. Like that single box looks like everything is going to be in there.
Do you know what kind? You have nothing. You have no idea about the game.
I mean, I have a little bit of idea about the game. It's modular, so you look at all the tiles. All those tiles are going to come out depending upon the way that you travel and explore on the board. All the encounters in the game are going to be dice-driven, from what I read. So you're going to be reading paragraphs, finding out what you're going to be fighting, using the stats on your player board to be able to enact. And then, of course, all the cards are going to have their own interactions and the way they're going to affect the gameplay. But it is...
Looking at the screen where I'm at here, it kind of goes through some of how the narrative works in terms of like connecting the tile letter to whatever card you might be in and tying to the narrative that you need to read out of a book. Yeah, it does look beautiful. I mean, again, this is the kind of game, as long as one of my friends backs it,
sure,
I can try it. And since Jeremy did, I'm good.
Yeah, and again, I wasn't expecting to back this. In fact, I know in my heart of hearts that this game will probably not get a whole lot of play from me. But being that it's an exclusive Kickstarter only game, and that I'm so drawn to Viking stuff right now, and that I'm probably not going to have the opportunity to buy it later, and if I do, it's going to be double the price, then why not? Give it a shot. And Mythic does good work anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
They've just traditionally not done the type of games I enjoy, which are, heavy dice driven, more of Amera style games than Euro style games, but we'll see.
So that was Hell. We don't know much about it. We didn't give too much away. We didn't have, and again, like we said last week, These are mostly games that we haven't, in fact, so far, had any content on. So we're not doing anything with these games. We want to try to stay as objective as possible with this program. So we're looking at these titles with completely unfiltered eyes and our mouths.
But we will say this, just for transparency, is that Jeremy Howard, who's also on our channel, will be covering this on Sunday. So make sure you guys check out that. You'll get far more gameplay idea than what we're giving you today.
Yeah, and from what I understand, I just talked to Ryan this morning, actually. I totally forgot about that. They're asking me for some graphics work on that, because even though it's solo Sunday, I think they're going to be playing it with 3 players cooperatively.
Nice.
All right, so next up is going to be Clinic, and the logo on our screen just says Clinic, but it is actually Clinic COVID-19 Pandemic. Now, so part of the reason I chose this one is I was looking through and I saw that, and my first reaction might be a lot like a lot of you. You're like, oh, I don't know about that. That sounds maybe not exactly the most tasteful or something along those lines. But then I looked at the page. So we'll look at the page before we look at the trailer here. And the first thing I saw is the creator of this game. And Jeremy actually backed the original version of this, the deluxe version of this game last year. This has obviously some more new stuff. But part of his inspiration here is it sounds like his wife was a nurse and shared a lot of stories with him. And so he wanted to bring this back to Kickstarter. And they're giving some portion away right here. Giving some money away is going to be donated to this Institute Pasteur and Salk Institute for biological studies. So kind of a good cause. I think he's coming from the right place. So in my opinion, I'm kind of looking at this and thinking, okay, it's not in poor taste or anything like this. He put this game out last year. He's putting it out again now. It's relevant. I don't think, just because we're in the middle of quarantine and a pandemic, that it means we shouldn't play games like Pandemic Legacy or something like this. We've still got to enjoy ourselves and not be ashamed of it. So,
yeah, and when you said what's being donated, 10 euros of each of these different pledge levels is being donated. So obviously, if you look at the main pledge level there, that's $16 that you can kind of see on the screen. If you scroll down a little bit, the very first pledge level, scroll down through the support. Yeah. One more, David, on the right. Yep, is $16. That's just to get you this new cooperative expansion. 10 euros is going to this foundation. The other 6 is just going to the shipping cost, the production cost. If you read on what David's little placard that says there, in the pink at the bottom says, funds will not be taken from the proceeds of this campaign, which tells me that 100% of all these portions, or 0 portion of them, is going to go back to the people that are designing it, the artists, the graphic designers. They've donated all their time to be able to basically produce a product that's not going to make them any money, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you've played this, right, Jeremy? The original?
I have played it, yeah.
Before we get into that, I mean, I'll have you talk about the game itself, but let's take a quick peek. We won't probably watch this whole one, but I want to take a quick peek.
It's 36 seconds. It's not super long.
Oh yeah, it is short. Oh, and it's going to cut off a little. The game, it's Ian O'Toole's doing the art, so it's no surprise that it kind of looks like a Lacerda game. It actually is giving me big Gallerist vibes. All right, so the trailer didn't do too much to explain anything.
I gotta say, I mean, putting their best foot forward here and donating all of it, hearing that ventilator is kind of like turning me off, just for my own personal taste there. Like, there are people right now who are heavily affected by this. Yeah. For example, and never mind, I'm not even going to talk about it. But that's, I mean, I feel like that could turn people off.
That was a weird, it was a weird choice. Yeah, I mean, above and beyond that, I was a little surprised, and that was the first time I clicked on that video to look at it. I was a little surprised that it didn't really say much. It kind of assumes maybe they're just focused on people who bought Clinic and not really thinking about new potential users, because that video really didn't do much to suggest here's what Clinic is. In fact, you get a lot more from just the picture, the thumbnail of the picture than you did that trailer. So interesting choice. But let's scroll down and take a look. Here you can get a better look at what you're looking at here. They've got Clinic is the extension. Was that part of what you got, Jeremy?
Yeah, let's talk about what you're actually getting here. So this campaign, you can buy everything. You can buy everything from just the base game to the base game with the first expansion that came out on their original Kickstarter. You can buy just the COVID-19 cooperative expansion, or you can buy it all together. It's up to you on how you want to, piecemeal this thing out. I backed the $16 one because I already own the Clinic Deluxe Edition with the extension expansion. This COVID-19 pandemic one is a purely cooperative one. It's very interesting too, because the way this works, and if you're all familiar with Clinic, it's a very, very heavy game. Like it's a 4.2, I think, on the BGG scale. So
yeah,
it's
that was
not
surprising.
to be taken lightly. This is, I mean, it looks pretty, but it's deceptively difficult. There's a lot of stuff you have to consider in this game, but this COVID-19 expansion is interesting because it works very similar to the original game, but you're cooperatively treating patients, and the patients will infect the doctors and the orderlies and the nurses in the game that you would typically use to help your patients. So you're using new and fresh doctors to treat those doctors as well as they get sick. So it's this revolving door of trying to treat your patients and treat the people that are treating your patients cooperatively. So it looks very, very interesting, and I don't think Clinic has been done cooperatively before. I could be wrong, but I've never played the game cooperatively. I've only played it competitively.
Yeah, I got the sense from what it set up here that maybe that game, the original, doesn't have a cooperative mode. It felt like this was being described as the addition of co-op, given the fact that kind of tying it to what we're all trying to do and do the right thing, cooperating to get through the pandemic that was in front of us. The interesting thing is I look at these components, and I don't know how successful Clinic... Do you know what the first campaign did?
I don't, but you can keep talking. I'll take a look.
Yeah, take a look, because I'm curious to see how many people out there who play Clinic, how much room there is for expansion, because obviously the subject matter, and then looking at this expansion lends itself pretty well to all sorts of health-related things that you could add into this game to introduce different mechanics or even just some slight variations on the base game.
I mean, you can, yeah. The great thing about this expansion, too, is as I look at the rules, and the rules are readily available there for, I think, just
right
the
here.
English language right now, but it's only a 2-page rule book, which is pretty on par with all the small expansions that come in the extensions box as well. So it's not overly more complex than what the game already is, but it's easy enough to digest, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So the Clinic Deluxe Edition that came out last year had 2,600 backers and did 245,000.
Well, that's
so I mean,
decent.
It's not,
how many backers did you say?
About 20, well, just over 2,500.
Okay, so it's at 2,000, and my guess is that a lot of those people are those same people. I did see
imagine.
here it goes into a little bit more detail, I think, on this particular expansion and what it does. But it does, it just seems like, and if you look at the price point, this is a fairly, it's not a huge expansion. I think there's probably be look at as basically a co-op variant with some components is what it seems like. So obviously there's some people who are fans of it who are getting it.
Let me talk first about the game, and I want to talk about this specific campaign. As a game, it is a very heavy game, and I think I already mentioned that. There's a lot of stuff going on. I think this is only going to appeal and probably only did so well on Kickstarter because it's got a limited audience of people. Having said that, the game is really fun. It's super thinky. I don't feel like there are a lot of avenues to explore the game space without those expansions, for the simple fact that you're building in a very limited amount of space. You have floors in your hospital, and you have to build them in very unique ways to get your actions to key off. So you're basically doing some of the same patterns in the game with whatever flexibility that you can do with the floors above you, if that makes any sense at all. So it's not a game that I think you're gonna play a lot of, number one, because it's got an extremely high learning curve and you're not gonna be able to teach it to new people quite often. But I also don't think it's a game that you can really explore it over and over and over and find new avenues to do well. Speaking from a different perspective about just the COVID-19 thing, I do think looking at this campaign that they have the best intentions at heart. I do think that they should say, right as you get to the very first part of it where it says story and shows that image, that it should say 100% of the proceeds go to, or 0% of the funds go to us. They need to make that super pronounced right at the start. Otherwise, people that look at this who have been affected, who have had family members die or treating frontline patients are going to think this is a money grab.
Yeah, and I want to point out, we need to confirm this. I'm not sure we're reading that pink text correctly. It says funds will not be taken from the proceeds of this campaign. I wasn't sure if that meant to them or if these funds that were being donated were not going to be taken.
Well, I don't know. If you scroll down through the support or through the pledge levels over there under support.
Oh, yeah.
Just go to that one right there. It's 16 euros. 10 of them are going to go to them. That means they have $6 to pay for production and
but it says that they will pay it from their own separate funds. I think that means that the company is paying the $10 and that they're not necessarily literally taking the funds from the campaign to do it. They're doing it themselves.
That could be the case as well. In that case, and everything I said is wrong.
Well, not everything. They're just taking a little bit of money. Like if, doing the math, they'd be taking effectively $6, which is probably going to cover their costs on that thing. So they're probably not getting much.
Either way, their intentions, I think, are good here. I mean, obviously, they want to help people out. I just think it needs to be, as you just said, it's a little foggy. Yeah. And people are probably going to question it, just as we are, on how this is truly being handled. And they probably just need to address that. Otherwise, I think what they're doing here is it's a positive thing. But just know that some people are going to fight against that. Yeah,
it will. Like I said, when we first took a look at it, initial reaction was like, ooh, that's interesting. It's like a COVID-19 game. And I can tell, he said at one point here in the page, he says, right now in these times, I am feeling strange about having my game played on the table. And that is weird. You walk in, if you see someone playing Pandemic, I've watched some videos recently of some content creators. They had Pandemic in the background. And not that it turned me off, but it is something that's just on all of our minds. You notice that and go, oh, that's interesting. It's just not sure how to feel about it. But like I said, I don't think we should beat ourselves too much up for playing a game like that.
No, absolutely not.
So that is COVID-19. I'm going to take a quick look at the comments here before we move on to the next title. Jeremy, you want to introduce the next title?
Yeah, so I briefly mentioned this on the last program we did. It's called Adventures in Neverland. And the reason why it drew my attention was, number one, it's another narrative game, and I like narrative games. They've been trending really well for me lately. This is no exception. But the reason why it drew my attention is because the artwork looks very similar to that of, if you're as old as David and I are, those Super Nintendo manuals where they had really cool artwork in them. That was one of the draws. The moment you went and bought a Super Nintendo game for $80 at KB Toys, you open it up and there's this awesome manual, right?
We're dating ourselves every week on this show.
I'm just telling you, that holds weight to me. And I look at this artwork and it looks very similar. It gives me that same vibe. So I just kind of want to take a look at it this week and see what it's all about.
So here are a few comments before we move on. These are revolve around Clinic. One is from Jace Williams, and thanks, Jace, for clarifying this with this detail of knowledge that you have. He says, the funds that are donated to the charity are not coming from the campaign, meaning the creator is donating because there's a rule: Kickstarter campaigns cannot give money to charity. So my guess is he has that language in there to specify to Kickstarter effectively, hey, we're not breaking any Kickstarter rules. We are going to be donating money, but it's not your money because we can't do that.
Okay.
But if you do the math, if he's giving that much money and then he's taking that much money, you can kind of get a sense for the fact that they're really not going to net a whole bunch.
Okay.
But thanks, Jace, for that detail. And then a couple of other comments as I'm scanning here. There's some people, I'm guessing it's Mepper or Meeper, commented on the weight of the game, seeming like the weight of something like that would probably prevent it from getting it to the table. And then the theme kind of put a bad taste in their mouth. I'm not sure that they would get it to the table. And then one other person said, yes, it is a heavy and potentially fiddly game, but it's one that they really enjoyed. So
It's worth
next,
a play, for sure.
Yeah,
Sorry
I've
about
never
that.
played it. It sounds a little much for me, quite honestly, but if you have
It's a
it,
lot.
maybe we can someday, probably after the quarantine and all of this is a little bit more behind us, we can play it. So next up is Adventures in Neverland, like Jeremy was just mentioning. And right there is that art that he was talking about. We've got Captain Hook in that unique style. I actually felt this style, not exactly, but it kind of gave me like an evolution of Vincent Dutrait type art. I mean, it's far more detailed typically than what Vincent Dutrait does, but it had that vibe to me. But it does look cool. And a lot of black lines around the edges too, which is, I think, what's giving you that old N64 vibe is the use of heavy black lines. Have you looked at this trailer, Jeremy? I haven't looked at it at all.
I haven't either, no.
All right, let's take a peek at the trailer, everyone, and we will Mystery Science Theater it.
Dawn in Neverland.
Okay, good so far.
A new adventure. Take on the role of the wayward Peter Pan, the notorious Captain James Hook, and many more while you explore the ever-changing island of Neverland. In this story-driven adventure game, 2 to 4 players take on the role of a main character in the world of J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan. As everybody's
That map's
Neverland is
pretty.
different, every game will be a new adventure with new possibilities and challenges to face.
The game looks, to me, a lot better than the box. For some reason, the box doesn't do it for me, but oh my god, these look really, really cool.
Interact with locations and other characters and gain experience during numerous adventures. Adventures are narrated through cards, which branch into different storylines depending on the player's choices. The immersive stories will ensure you'll find yourself in a world of wonder and mystery. Adventures in Neverland.
What a great trailer. I mean, that's really well made.
That was a really good trailer. Jeremy, I don't know, and we'll fix this before next time. At least in my ears, when we play the trailers, I can't hear Jeremy speak at all. So
Interesting.
we will fix that before the next time. I think it's because of my levels right here coming out of my my PC. But anyway, what I'd mentioned, Jeremy, I don't know if you can hear me, but the box for some reason, I love the logo. The box just turns into sort of a mash of blue and orange to me. You don't see a lot of detail. It does not speak to how cool that artwork looks. When you see that board and all of those player boards and the artwork of the characters and even the line drawing stuff on the cards, like the acorns and those little pieces, I love all of that. In fact, those line drawings, I wouldn't want those colored. I love them just the way they are, like on that sort of parchment-y background. This looks really cool. Like, I don't know much about the game at all, but I have to say, based on those components alone, it looks like the kind of game that I'd like to give a try.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I mentioned in the trailer is that map really drew me in. I think it's really well drawn. The delineation between the map and then all the stuff around it. If you scroll down a little bit right there, David, you're seeing the map in detail. You're seeing like some kind of, I don't know, point system on the left maybe where the cards go on the right. But it looks like the map is laying over top of a table, which has some other aspects, some leaves coming into it. It's just really, really nicely drawn. But what even drew me in more than that are all those like tuck boxes. Like you have character tuck boxes, which are pretty cool. So each time I imagine you get done playing, you can just tuck all your stuff back in.
Oh yeah,
and then
right there.
Go on a different quest. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on. You have, happening cards, side quest cards. There's a lot.
They made a lot of great decisions on the graphic design here for sure. Like, there's a lot of little touches I'm sure all of these pieces went through some iterations. I mean, we see a lot of games, artwork and graphic design, where, there are those things that we remember those Nintendo manuals and what pushes our buttons. And when we see a game that doesn't have something and we think, oh, it would be nice. For instance, this map. I love even the addition of the darkened area around the edge, which I'm sure the original art may not have even had that. They really went to town on executing this map really well. And these player boards. I want to see if there's actually a closer look at any of that. Now, I'm glad they have miniatures, because I would not want to play this game. If I got this game,
Standees?
I would not want to play with these standees. There are only a handful of standees that I've seen in my life that I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Vindication has like little metal standees. That was enough to make me go, okay, but these are not, these are standees.
Seems like there's also right there as on your screen, they're talking about additional stories that are going to be available as boosters that you can buy now, or you can buy them at a later time as well, but you get 50% off of all those boosters. And again, those are just additional stories. All the stories in the game are, replayable, so you can obviously go back through them if you so wish to do so. And the stretch goals, like most of the stretch goals are built around, additional quests or upgrading the component quality from, thicker paper stock or UV coating some of the stuff. It doesn't seem to be a whole lot of story or gameplay driven stuff. I mean, there's a couple things like new events, but
I'm going to pop back up to see where they're funded at. So they're at 364.
Yeah.
So they've gotten all the way down to here. Oh, game trays they hit. They haven't shown that they've unlocked that, but they've hit it. I will say, again, just because we're constant critics, I would like to see these things on this stretch goal list. I know that's just that much more graphics to put on your Kickstarter page, but going down this list, I'm less inclined to read all the stretch goals as I am to look at the pretty pictures and go, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Some add-ons.
So let's talk about price here.
Yeah,
it's $100. It's $109 basically US. It's called the Dreamer Deluxe version and all the boosters.
So that's the all-in.
That's the all-in minus the add-ons, which I believe are all those miniatures, which are mostly. I think they're mostly NPC characters.
Yeah.
That you'll encounter in the game. I mean,
I don't know if those would be replaced by more standees.
They have to be standees or tokens of some sort.
Yeah, I actually would prefer them as tokens. If I didn't get the extra miniatures, I would probably personally prefer tokens. I dislike traditional standees that much.
Games of Fire says $109 and includes those standees. I believe that is the case. Yes. But you do have some miniatures in there. All your characters will be miniatures. So your personal players, whether you're playing, Peter Pan or Wendy or whomever else, will have their own miniature. It looks like there's a crocodile miniature that you're going to get.
Yeah, even the Jolly Roger
version.
They don't have it rendered yet, but it looks like they have a Jolly Roger miniature that's in good shape, and then a sunken version of the miniature that's like kind of sticking into the table.
And that will be an add-on, though, I believe, right?
It says this will not be available for retail after the campaign.
Yeah.
Only via our website, etc. Oh yeah, playmat could be good.
Yep.
Anything like that.
Exclusive story.
I love playmats when they're on the table. I hate playmats when I have to put the game away. I just don't, unless someone's what's some of the games we've played where the playmat is in the box and they're oddly shaped box. What was that?
Well, Parks doesn't Parks have one?
Parks does, but it does not go in their box. I don't think, does it?
Okay. Yeah,
but
I don't know.
Flick of Faith does, but it's a very oddly shaped box, and the mat makes it really, really wide.
I love playmats, but I have so many, and I never use them, just because they're a pain to pull out.
Well, it looks like they hit their social stretch goals. I'm always curious when I see social stretch goals thinking, do people do backers really go do that? And apparently they did. Although I guess it's not like significantly high.
Keep scrolling down, David.
Yeah.
And go to, they actually keep going further down. They actually show all the different pledge levels, and it's further down than that even.
Right here.
Go down to their biggest tier, which is not their retail tier, but it's called the Dreamer. There you go.
Yeah.
That's all the content you're going to get.
There we go.
For the $109 US dollars.
And that
So
doesn't,
minis,
you
a
said
bunch of
that
wooden
doesn't include the
components.
miniatures for the Lost Boys?
It doesn't include any of those add-on ones, but it has all your main characters in there as miniatures and your tug boxes and your wooden pieces and so forth. It's still a nice, I mean, I don't know if $109, if it's worth that, but it's a pretty looking package.
It's hard to tell what the length of the game is, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it does look cool.
Yeah, I'm
When is
intrigued
this?
by it.
Supposedly delivering in March 2021.
This one probably has a few days left as well.
Yeah,
It has
is at-
5 days. Man,
Oh,
we're
it's
on
only
the tail
5
end of
days.
all
In
these.
fact, what were all of these? So we've got Clinic,
9.
9 days, and Hell's pretty close. I think Hell's like 4 days.
4 days on Hell.
So 4, 9, and 5. So, yeah.
So
in
I
classic
backed,
fashion,
as I said, getting ready for this show, I ended up backing Hell and the $16 Clinic because I already own the Deluxe. So I didn't expect to do either one. And to be quite honest, I'm probably not going to play Hell like
that
all the
much.
way through because it's just, I mean, it looks like another massive game. So
yeah,
we'll
nothing
see.
against the
I don't
game
know.
either. We just don't we very rarely play through all the content in a game like that.
Right.
I mean, some of our favorite games, I still haven't. I mean, I love Vindication, as a lot of you know. I've not played with all the expansions or all of the content in that game. It's not really possible all the time.
No.
All right,
it's not.
so let's finish things off here. We're going to take another look at Kick Track. And as we told you last week, this is kind of an interesting list. It's probably a little bit more relevant this week than it was last. So we'll take a look at that now. We'll go through this to some degree. Hell, of course, is still right there at the top. My guess is because of what we said last week, how Kick Track overlaps with the users have to go back and forth to make them pop up here.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is games that come from Mythic and those types of companies probably have a lot of backers that do go back and forth between Kick Track, and that's probably what helps them, not to mention the fact that the campaign is doing extraordinarily well. We still got Euthia up here towards the top. Sheol was up there. I don't know if I remember seeing Victim last week when we looked.
No, we didn't.
And it looks like it has about a week to go. Adventures of Neverland is back up there. Maharaja, was that up there last week, Jeremy? I don't think it was.
I don't think so. I think it was like in the top 20 though, but I don't think it was in the top 10.
Yeah, and Maharaja, you did a preview on that recently, right?
I did. That's a classic Wolfgang and Kramer game. So it's old. It's 2004 old. But it's
Gnome
been redone.
Elf Troll, I definitely hadn't heard of. You know what?
No idea what that is.
You're
You're gonna click on it, aren't you?
Let's take it. I am. We said last week we weren't going to do this, but I want to take a look at this project. It's okay. The artwork's not bad. I'm a little intrigued and perplexed by the little Santa gnome, but
Oh boy. Yeah.
fair amount of text.
You're like, where's the interesting graphics?
This
is how we look at Kickstarters.
This
you
is-
can tell by his silence. He's like,
you
probably
have
not.
to grab not that anyone should care at all about my perspective on whether I'm going to back or not, but this is the kind of thing I just need a little bit more razzle dazzle with the imagery to pull me in. So let's back over here.
That's what you get for clicking on stuff.
Yes, I know. Then we got
Railroad Inc. and we've played that. That came out at Gen Con 2 years ago, and this is a new one.
Yeah, this is the new one. Is it just called Railroad Inc? Oh, it is Challenge.
Yeah.
What is this, like a duel? how would you play this? Do you know
Quick
anything
playing,
about it?
roll and write? No, it just looks like another one. Same creators, so it's from Horrible Games, I believe, right?
Oh, interesting.
Would be
1 to
my
4
guess.
players with a focus on player interaction. So maybe this is a little nastier
There you go.
version.
Good. I think it needs to be nastier.
Yeah, I guess I jumped past Maharaja. Neo platformers, I have no idea. Oh, it's a terrain Kickstarter.
What else is in the top 20 down there? Is there anything new and interesting that we've not heard of?
Tiny Epic Pirates.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that's got to be a case of not a lot of those backers being over here because it is killing it. Like Tiny Epic Pirates, what's it at?
They always kill it.
477,000, and it just launched this week, right?
Yup.
Yeah. Tiny Epic is yeah.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Oh, another
True Bang.
tiny game, Tiny Ninjas, which I think did we cover Tiny Ninjas too, right?
I think Kira covered that one.
Yeah, Kira covered that one. That's cute art, and of course, Kira's our resident ninja, so she covered that one. It's not doing bad. 81,000.
Not at all.
I mean, I
them.
didn't know anything about it. Oh, there's Trudvang Adventures for interesting. Did you see this?
Well, it's always been an RPG. It was actually an RPG before they made it into the board game from.
I see. So this is a 5e rule set for Trudvang. Interesting.
Yep.
Like that'd be hard. I mean, we're just now getting into D&D, and we're just in the world of D&D, so we're miles away from incorporating other properties.
Right.
Yeah. So there's not much. One thing that Sea of Legends made the top 25. We have some familiarity with that. There's one other that I don't see here, and I wanted to mention it. In fact, I'm going to have to... No, I won't look it up. But there's these decks of cards you can get that have spells and monsters and all sorts of things for D&D, and I can't remember the name of the company. If anyone in the comments...
Mini deck of spells or something?
Yeah, what was that? Are you going to look it up?
I am. It's like mini deck of spells or something. Yeah, the deck of mini animated spells, tarots, and more.
Yeah.
Is what it's called.
What he said. And it's a really cool feature, and I'm very sort of like swept up in Dungeons and Dragons right now because we are just trying to start a campaign, and the people in the group, Jeremy being one of them, I'm DMing. None of us have done this for a very long time at the very least. I've definitely never DM'd or really played for that matter. But anyway, got D&D on the brain, so I saw these animated cards because first of all, the artwork on these things has a really cool look to it. You know what? Because I am going to talk about it, I am going to go there really quick. What's it called?
The deck of mini animated spells. It's from Hit Point Press. It's at $500,000 right now. It's a pretty package.
Yeah. So you see this artwork right here, and they're refractive cards, so you can tilt them and you see the animation. It's just a few frames, but you can see better right here. Like so, delayed blast fireball, and it's got a little bit of the information that you need, and then the back of the card has a ton of information. If we had some sessions behind us and I thought it was really going well, I'd probably spend a ridiculously too much money on this thing, because just one deck of these is one animated spell deck of your choice is $30, and I want to say,
holy crap, are you serious?
Yeah,
$30?
Well, they come with how many cards come in a deck?
They better come with the DM.
But you can go all the way up to all spells for $300. And the thing is...
That is nuts.
Then they have a mega bundle that comes with all the animated spells and, basically all the extras. But it's really slick.
Jay Howe asking us in the comments if we can go to Pulp Invasion, and I'm gonna say, Jay Howe, we're gonna take a look at that probably next week, because that's one I had highlighted. It's a beautiful looking game. So
let me back.
David, I'm gonna ask you a question. Since I backed 2 of these games, each week I'm gonna ask you which one of these games of the 3 that we touched on you would back, and what would your answer be for this week?
Oh, Neverland, without a question.
Really?
Of these 3.
Okay.
For sure. Hell, I would not back personally for the same reason that you were on the fence. I just don't see that it will get a lot of play from me. Not to mention the fact, again, those types of games, as soon as I know someone who's going to get it that I have access to, I'll probably just play with them. And if I love it, then I'll be sorry or try to hunt it down. Clinic, now that I understand that it's as heavy as it is, that type of game doesn't appeal to me. And when I say that, it's no judgment on these games themselves. It's more about who I play with. I play with Jeremy and the group from MVM a lot, and that's who I'd play this type of game with. Nobody else. Any of the other people that I play with in various groups, I'd never get something like Clinic to the table. Not to mention the fact if I did, I'd have to be the one teaching it, and I don't want to learn it that well.
Yeah.
Adventures in Neverland looks like a game that's appealing to me. That's of the three, it's also the one that most makes me want to say, oh, I'd really like to try that. If I walked by a table or tables that had these games on them, that's the one that would catch my eye. Hell, at first glance anyway, it's just going to be a game that looks like a miniatures game to me. Clinic looks like a huge footprint, so it would probably scare me off. But Adventures in Neverland looks good. And interestingly enough, you backed the other two, so now I feel almost obligated to back Adventures in Neverland. But I'm not going to commit to that right now anyway.
Should read the rules and see what it's all about.
Maybe I'll do that. But it does seem like a fun game.
Cool.
What last week, had you backed any of them? Did you end up backing Final Girl?
I did.
Yeah, I backed Final Girl. I didn't back the other two. But yeah, that's a good thing. What's everyone backing before we sign off here? I just want to take a look at the comments here.
Also, don't forget the thumbs up. We asked for them last week. We're going to ask for them this week as well. Give us a thumb, please.
And one of these weeks we'll have to ask for subscription bells. We are going to pander to you like nobody's business to get more viewers. It looks like people are. Looks like people are saying
100% of your thumbs will be donated to our thumbs.
So it looks like a lot of people are saying hell.
Yeah.
People saying Clinic.
Well, Clay's
I don't know if this is a
Clinic.
serious comment, but Clayton Ross says Clinic, Game of the Year 2020.
That's Clay.
Oh,
Clayton
Clayton.
Ross.
Clay Ross. I didn't know his name was Clayton.
Right?
Clayton.
Now
That sounds
ammunition.
like maybe his son's name or something. Clayton Ross.
We have ammunition. Oh, speaking of Clay.
Well, of course Clay picks
Look
that.
at this. Look, he's on, so I'm going to show his game. Bus. 20th edition. This is from Capstone.
So
had
Faulty
the
Joe.
Best game ever. Or
Faulty Joe in the
year.
comments asked if there's any playthrough or gameplay of Hell. Like we said earlier, you may have missed it. We are actually, I think, going to have some gameplay on our channel via Jeremy
Sunday.
Howard and Ryan are going to be playing with, I think, Sam Healy of Mythic on Sunday, which is traditionally solo Sunday, but it's going to be 3 solo Sunday. Now people are just talking about other games that they're backing. Maybe Neverland, Games of Fire says.
I invite you guys all to go prepare for next week. Hopefully we do one next week, but Pulp Invasion, Jeremy Howard already mentioned, we just talked about it. Go look at this campaign. If you like old 1960s sci-fi type stuff, you're gonna do something. You'll probably back it.
Well,
It looks beautiful.
On that note, I don't know that I can say it any better than that. But on that note, thanks again for watching this week. Like Jeremy said, not sure if we'll do this every single week. It's a fun show. We have fun doing it. It's a learning experience, but I think we're getting better at it. Thanks for everyone who participated in the comments today. Continue letting us know what you think you're going to be backing. Let us know also what you think what we should cover maybe next week. We'll probably take that into consideration because, of course, we want to give you guys what you want in terms of our commentary and shoebox or crackerjack box critiques of some of these campaigns. But until then, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.